I grew up in a household where it was dangerous to express emotions. So this sort of developed a lot of fear surrounding my emotions, although I was quite a sensitive and emotional child, as I guess we all are. But because of this, I struggled a lot throughout my life, just not understanding that it was simply that how we can handle these things and how these things affect us as men and as people in general. As I got older, I found myself being a social person. I loved people. I loved connecting with people, except I had a lot of emotions surrounding other people. So when I was with them, or even away from them, I would get a lot of difficult, complex, very negative emotions come up in reaction. And I didn't really understand this. I didn't know that this was a problem. So I tried many things. Ultimately, the first thing I tried when I was 13, I think, was marijuana. I tried it with one of my friends. It was interesting to change state of mind. It didn't really facilitate what I wanted, though. But then I found alcohol, and it pretty much did exactly what I wanted it to do, which was numb myself to the point that I was able to socialize easier. I was able to be the person that I wanted to be without all this stuff going on. And to a large extent, I guess we all have that because look how widespread alcohol is. We all have this part of ourselves that has this anxiety surrounding being around other people, and maybe there's survival mechanisms associated with this. There's some trauma, there's some repressed emotions, whatever. But we all have it to some extent. But as soon as I found alcohol, that's pretty much all I wanted to do was drink. Whenever I was in a social situation, even on my own, I would drink. And then I found things like mastery over certain things like classical music, and eventually I did a lot of other types of drugs, very heavy drugs, and a lot of them. I quit all that when I was 23 because I knew I couldn't stop. I then went on to various careers and hobbies and just mastering certain things and chasing relationships and money and all these external things that I was trying to use to give me some kind of to soothe the constant pain that I could tell was causing so many issues in my life. I just wanted a connection with someone or something. I just wanted purpose. I just wanted love and friendship and to care for other people and for other people to care for me. But I wasn't able to get that because of all this stuff. And so I tried to use other things to get it. The reason I'm saying all this is because you can see that this is an outwards process, that I kept looking outside of myself for answers. I kept seeking. I even did this literally at one point where I sold every single thing I owned. House, car, my job, got rid of my job, sold everything I owned down to a backpack, and then went traveling around the world. And this is in a very extreme way where I went out from my home and into this world, excuse me, looking for something. And the amount of resources and the amount of pain and the amount of problems that I brought to other people, none of it really did anything. I'm nearly 40, and it took me 40 years to see that, none of it did anything. It was just running. It was running away from me. It was trying to find the answers in things away from me. People, drugs, places, things, hobbies, skills, relationships, sex. Even things like the gym. I go to the gym a lot because I think there's a health factor there as I get older, but there's also the feeling of having a good body, right? It can impress other people. And I just never wanted to be with myself because it was painful, very painful. I eventually stumbled across spirituality more along the lines of awakening type stuff. And I used it in a very practical way where I started to realize that it was okay to feel my emotions. And I started to really break down what was going on inside myself to make me so crazy, chaotic and desperate to search. Even enlightenment can become this thing that you search for to avoid having to face yourself. You've got hundreds of years of gurus that are displaying this enlightenment, but it can be really just encouraging more repression. So the reason that I say this is to make my point of this video, which is, men, you need to suffer alone. It's fine if you've got friends and job and relationships and all that stuff. But to find truth, you need to be alone. You need to be away from these people temporarily, however you want to do it, and suffer. If you're single, go off, do what you need to do, and just suffer on your own. Be a scientist that looks at your suffering. Look at your fears and your anger. What is under your anger? Shame, grief, anxiety, fear. Shame is a big one. If you're angry a lot, then it's an indicator that you've got a lot of these things underlying it. So whenever you get angry, look at the anger and try to find what was the first emotion that you felt when whoever or whatever happened caused you to be angry. What really is going on there? Is it that they embarrassed you? Is it that you felt ashamed? Is it that you're jealous, you felt weak, and then you became angry? That first emotion is the one you need to feel. But this needs to be done on your own. The more we reach out and try to talk about these things, the more we're avoiding. If you meet a leader, a male leader who is the type of leader that you would want to be, it's okay to reach out and ask some questions. Tell them what you're going through, ask if they've gone through it and how they fixed it. Most good leaders have been through more suffering than anyone. We need to be alone and we need to experience our fears in their fullest. Terror, if it need be. Our grief. The deepest recesses of grief and pain that you just haven't let out since you were a child. This comes from being alone and exploring yourself. Being in relationships helps as our triggers, but take the triggers away and deal with them yourself. Don't try to get anyone else to change, because that's just more avoiding yourself. It's not easy, and this is why not many people do it. This is why it's very rare to find a true male spiritual warrior. This is what you were meant for. This is why men are the way they are. Look at our bodies. We're made to be warriors, hunters, fighters. But this also can be said to be on the spiritual element as well. We're meant to be leaders. But the only way you get there is if you get clarity within yourself, and then you return to the world as a spiritual leader, a warrior who's able to guide the children, the young men, and the women through your own sense of having overcome your suffering. You can then guide others to do the same, just as you will find a leader who guides you. But I can't stress enough the loneliness and aloneness and the suffering that you experience is the greatest gift. And there is no other way. You must handle this on your own. No one else can do it for you. Much love to you all.